equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance to the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting of Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success of Krishna Prema. Once again, I thank everyone for joining the Bhakti Sanga conference call today. Let's move on to the next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who all have joined the call this morning? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. This is Yashamati Priya Devi Dasi from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Yashamati Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Padma Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj's. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devi Dasi from Radha.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, this is Balavinda.
Hare Krishna, Balavrinda Mataji. Balavrinda, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call in the morning. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Padma Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devdasi from College Station, Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Padma Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. This is Radha Pyari Devdasi from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Padma Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My Dandavat Pranams to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Susmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Shushmita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is anybody
Hare Krishna, Padma Mataji, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Dandavat Pranam to all the devotees assembled here. Myself Jyoti Takne from Sholapur, Maharashtra, India.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvindaksh from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvindaksh Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining the call, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Let's move on to the next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. Welcome to Bhakti Sanga conference call. Today we are fortunate to have His Grace Ramakrsna Prabhuji for enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 8th chapter, 19 to 23rd verses. Before giving the call to Prabhuji, I would like to give it to Sreshashram Prabhuji for giving a brief introduction about Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat, please accept. Take over, Prabhu.
Maharaj. Yeah, here is a brief introduction about Prabhuji. Ramakrishna Das, a practitioner of Krishna consciousness for over 2 decades, blessed to be a second initiate of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Residing in the UAE as the Gruhastha for past 25 years, he is dedicated to various services within ISKCON community. Together with his wife, Sachi Yashoda Devi Dasi, we nurture the Shamadesh congregation through dedicated sessions for children, ladies, families, and youth, integrating systematic Shastric studies with a focus on music and Kirtana. Our efforts extend to assisting 15 Bhakti Vriksha groups as mentors and supporting the local congregation through festival organization and fundraising, including significant events and festivals like Jagannath Rath Yatra, Janmashtami, and Gaur Purnima. Prabhuji is actively engaged in training preachers, counseling families, youth, and children, and serving the devotee community under Shamdesh Yatra. Furthermore, Prabhuji contributes to the spiritual education of others through online and on-site teaching with the Mayapur Institute, guiding students pursuing Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava courses. Additionally, facilitate the study of Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru Parampara through the ISKCON Disciple course. Prabhuji remains as a devoted student on this transformative path of the spiritual growth, striving to deepen his understanding of sacred scriptures and teachings. Hare Krishna Mataji, back to you Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Ramakrishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for coming on the call this morning and giving your valuable time and association and enlightening on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhu. 7th canto, 8th chapter, 19th to 23rd verse. Please take over the call, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Thank you very much. Kindly accept my humble obeisances. One Chakal Patarugyasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Upasthita Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. I would like to welcome all the masters and the mothers in today's session here. So we will discuss on the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the very auspicious and a revolutionary chapter, and especially discussing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Nrsingadeva. So I'll be sharing with you some PowerPoint and also some text. So those who would wish to read, when I prompt, may kindly unmute and also read those texts. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayam Udiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Nigamakalpataror Galitam Palam Shukamukadam Rutadravasam Yutam Vivata Bhagavatam Rasamadayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvibhavaha Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Bhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkrupatamaham vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. I hope all of you are able to see the screen. So any of you can unmute and say yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Thank you. So today we will discuss on this topic of power, which is an acronym proving omnipotence with extraordinary revelations. In this chapter 8, which is Lord Nrsimhadeva slays Hiranyakashipu, an interesting point is seen, especially in the 29th verse. Though it is beyond today's scope of verses, I practically felt to discuss from this point so that we can try to see what unfolds before this action takes place. Vishvakspurantam grahanaturam harir vyalo vyathakum kulisakshta tvacham dvari urum apatya dadhara leelaya nakairitahim garudo mahavisham. As a snake captures a mouse, or Garuda captures a very venomous snake, Lord Nrsimhadeva captured Hiranyakashipu, who could not be pierced even by the thunderbolt of King Indra. As Hiranyakashipu moved his limbs here, there, and all around, very much afflicted of being captured, Lord Nrsimhadeva placed the demon on his lap, supporting him with his thighs, and in the doorway of the assembly hall, the Lord very easily tore the demon to pieces with the nails of his hand. Srila Nrsimhadeva Bhagavan ki jai. So what happened? Why this demon had to be slain? Why did the Lord perform such a ghastly action? All of that we will see in today's chapter. This is Prahlada, who was trying to ask some questions to his dear son, Prahlada. This is Hiranyakashipu. And when Prahlada reminded him that the best of all the education that he has received is the remembrance of the Lord. Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho Smaranam. Hearing this, the demon king became extremely angry, and he considered his own son to be a rebellion to his rule and to his desires. So he says, Lingadha Shatrur Muner Dustam Ivendriyam. Hey Prahlada, appearing like a friend, indeed you are an enemy, because I cannot control you. Therefore, this enemy, whether eating, sitting, or sleeping, must be killed by all means. So this is how he treated his son, putting on his lap and ready to be killed. And the result was he was put on the lap of the Lord and was killed. So a demon, whenever he tries to mess with his devotees, with the Lord's devotees, then he is going to really have a very tough time. That's the first essence we can find in this interaction. But Prahlada was very, very kind without showing any enmity towards his father. Out of his compassion, he spoke. My dear father, give up discrimination. There is no enemy within this world. When one is equipoised, one worships the Lord perfectly. But yet this demon, who was overwhelmed with his thought of torturing his son and giving distress to all the devotees of the Lord, he did do something very, very different. He challenged the very existence of the Lord. And when Prahlad said, he is there present in every place, including this pillar that, my dear father, you are trying to strike, then what happened? With a tumultuous sound, the pillar break open, and here comes the Lord. And for what purpose? Satyam vidatum nijabhrutya bhashitam vyaptim cha bhuteshu akileshu chatmana adrishyatadbhutarupam udvahan stambhe sabhayam namurgam namanusham. If anybody would like to read the translation,
I can go ahead, Prabhu.
Right.
To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlada Maharaj was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, exhibited a wonderful form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall.
Namrugam na manusham. But yet it is Adbhuta Rupam. And this is Adrishyata Adbhuta Rupam, which was never seen before. So who is this personality? What is this Rupam? He is Akileshu Chatmanaha. Means he is the soul of all the living entities, the soul. And he is Vyaptim cha Bhuteshwa. And he is widely spread over. He is widely present in all the different living entities who are embodied. And why did he appear? Bhrutya Bhashita. Just to keep the words of his servant. And whatever his servant spoke, his Bhrutya, was Nija, was completely true. And simply to prove this point, that he is always on the side of the truth. For he is the personality of truthfulness. Vidhatum Satyam. He appeared in presence of this demon who could never imagine that the Supreme Personality of Godhead could appear in front of him. Even after so many kinds of tapasya, so many kinds of austerities, penances, one cannot actually please the Lord to appear before him. But here is this demon who simply taking the charge of giving distress to his devotee Prahlada, the demon Hiranyakashipu, treated his own son Prahlada without knowing his potency, and thereby the Lord personally appeared to vanquish this demon. Now we read this from the today's allocated section. Mimamsamanasya sammutito grapto nrisimha rupas tadalam bhayanakam prapta pratapta chamikara chandalochanam spurat sata kesara shrimbitananam Karaladamstram karavala chanchala Kshuranta jihvam bhrukuti mukolbhanam Stabdhordvakaranam girikandaradbhuta Vyaktasya nasam hanubheda bhishanam Visprishat kayam adhirkapivara Grivoru vakshastalamalpamadhyamam Chandramsu gauraisa churitam tanurhay Vishwak bhujani kasatam nakayudham Durasadam sarva nijetrayudha Praveka vidravita daitya dhanavam. So, what was this fascinating form of the Lord, which is so beautifully described here? And what was his actions? If one of you could volunteer to read the translation here, please.
Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nrsimhadeva standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely ferocious because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold. His shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor-sharp tongue, which moved about like a dwelling sword. His ears were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hairs of his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues, and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus, and other natural weapons. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for reading that so dramatically. In the next verse, this beautiful Lord, when he appeared in front of the demon started to murmur something, unable to comprehend what is exactly happening. How could such a being, an amphibian, become present in front of him? He started to remember what all that he took the promise from Brahma, and how none of those promises were broken, but yet here appeared the personification of death in front of him. Rayena me ayam harinorumayina vadhasmrutonena samudayatena kim evam dhruvam abhyapatad gadayudho nadan nrisimham pratidaita kunjaraha. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me. But what is the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. So having seen his own death in front of him, he still had the audacity to take up the sword and still try to fight. He was such a kind of a demon. He could have been spared had he surrendered. But now that he took to the enmity of the Lord and was ready to kill or ready to fight, he took up this stance. So that's the setting in which we see this as theme. I would now share with you some very wonderful excerpts from Srila Prabhupada's purports, and which has been paraphrased so that we can understand it as a beautiful story as we unravel the truths of these particular incidents. So it's the power proving omnipotence with extraordinary revelations. Here is that story. Hiranyakashipu, consumed by anger and blinded by his own power, lashed out at his devotee son, Prahlada, with venomous words, his aggression escalating as he reached for his sword, rising from his regal seat to strike the boy. Yet from within a seemingly ordinary pillar, a dreadful sound emanated, shattering the fabric of the universe, alarming even the highest celestial beings. This unearthly noise, previously unheard, sent tremors through the assembly, perplexing the demoniac leaders. At that time, Prahlada's unwavering faith, and to demonstrate his omnipotence, Lord Hari revealed an unprecedented form, neither fully man nor lion, but a magnificent amalgamation. This divine figure emerged from the pillar, confounding Hiranyakashipu and the gathered assembly who beheld the Lord's awe-inspiring manifestation. With eyes ablaze like molten gold, a mane extending the breadth of his fearsome visage, and teeth and tongue resembling lethal weapons, The Lord's form radiated power and divinity. His very presence seemed to touch the heavens, striking terror into the hearts of onlookers. Let's look at what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaks on this particular incident with his beautiful Sanskrit words that reflect the actual incident. It's a divine confrontation, the triumph of omnipotence. The mighty demon king Hiranyakashipu reigned with unparalleled strength and arrogance. His son Prahlada was a devoted follower of the divine, much to Hiranyakashipu's dismay. Enraged by Prahlada's unwavering faith, Hiranyakashipu consumed his rusha, anger, subjected his son to relentless duruptair, harsh words, and curses, brandishing his sword in a display of power. Within the royal hall, a fearsome sound emerged from the pillar, shaking the very foundation of the universe. So this is very, very striking. The whole universe was shattered because the Bhagavatam, the great devotee Prahlada, had invoked the divine presence, much to the astonishment of the assembly, including powerful demigods like Lord Brahma. Despite their abhishana, great powers, they trembled at the thought of impending doom. Just to prove Prahlada's assertion that the divine is omnipresent, the Supreme Personality of Godhead revealed a form never before seen, neither human nor animal. This Nrimrigendra Rupam, man-lion form, struck fear into the hearts of all who beheld it. Hiranyakashipu, bewildered, questioned the nature of this astonishing creature. The form of Nrsimhadeva appeared majestic and terrifying with eyes like molten gold, a mane illuminating his fierce countenance and teeth sharp as daggers. His roar shook the heavens and his presence dwarfed even the mightiest demons. He wielded 100 arms, each bearing divine weapons, ready to vanquish the forces of darkness. Despite witnessing the divine manifestations, Hiranyakashipu remained defiant, convinced of his invincibility. Armed with his club, he charged the Lord like a raging elephant, dismissing the Lord's plan as futile. Yet, just as an insect meets its end in blazing fire, Hiranyakashipu met his demise in the Lord's effulgence, disappearing into the oblivion. So what do we get the message here? For the devotees and for the demons. If one of you can read for the devotees and another for the demons, it will really add up to this session today.
Hare Krishna. So the message for devotees, in the shelter of the Lord's grace, fear dissipates. His protection is an unyielding shield against all adversities, guiding us through every challenge with unwavering love and care. Hare Krishna.
Anyone for the demons?
Yeah, for demons, be aware of her pursuit of harming the Lord's devotee. You invite the divine fairy that knows no bounds, facing the inevitable consequences of divine retribution, swift and resolute.
Swift and resolute. So anyone who tries to mess with the devotees of the Lord, they have to meet their end. That is a kind of an assurance the devotee gets in this assembly. When the Lord appeared in his most fiercest form, but he is Bhaktavatsala, one who protects the devotee's bhakti, the devotion. And let's just dwell into some very wonderful points here. In today's verse, or a verses just few one before, Srila Prabhupada explains some very nice perspectives here. The Supreme Lord is an extraordinary form, emerged from the pillar, affirming Prahlada's assertion of his omnipresence. The form, neither man nor lion, validated the truth declared by Prahlada. And in the purport, we take an extract. The Lord encouraged his devotees, saying in effect don't worry, I am present here. The Lord also preserved the truth of Lord Brahma's promise. So here arises a question. How does divine intervention validate the faith in the face of adversity? So that could be taken. Let's see if someone of you can answer, but at the end. Then Hiranyakashipu, unable to discern the Lord's form, marveled at his inconceivable nature. The Lord's omnipotence surpassed the demon's comprehension, challenging his perception of power. And Prabhupada points it out, fools, rascals, and demons cannot realize the supreme potency of the Lord. The meaning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead means omnipotence. He can be present simultaneously in every place and also in a localized area. That is how he exhibits his potency. In text 22, Hiranyakashipu observed the Lord's formidable form, its terrifying features defying mortal comprehension. The Lord's appearance with weapons in hand symbolized the destruction of demons and the protection of the devotees. Especially the conch gives a warning, and it also sounds the protection of the Lord. With the beautiful lotus, the Lord treats his devotees in such a soft manner. And with his club, he vanquishes the demons. And with his chakra, he reigns over this world with his mighty power. In text 23, we see Srila Prabhupada mentions, despite recognizing the Lord's power, Hiranyakashipu comparing himself to an elephant attacked with arrogance. So when a person is overwhelmed with the power, with the lust and the greed, avarice, hatred, at such time he loses his intelligence and unable to comprehend the power of his opposition, he still tries to manage to stand on. But then he is not actually given any shelter or protection, because the very protection comes from the Supreme Lord, and the Lord withdraws that towards someone who is not submissive. Then whatever power that he may be still thinking he's having is but vain. He cannot do anything. So the comparison in this verse is appropriate. Why? Because he thinks himself as an elephant, but a lion can actually capture and kill an elephant. Here, Lord Nrsimhadeva, in the form of a lion, he captured Hiranyakashipu like a wasp, and he simply crushed him with his nails. So this is the power. How does the arrogance blind us to the reality of divine intervention? Now, some points from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I would like to read a few verses from before. And there's a very nice philosophical point here. Understanding the omnipotence of the divine entails acknowledging the boundless power and authority that transcends human comprehension. It requires humility and openness to the limitless nature of the divine beyond the confines of mortal understanding. And what is its significance? Regardless of one's strength or prowess, no mortal can challenge or overcome the supreme authority of the divine. Hiranyakashipu's mighty strength paled in comparison to the omnipotence of the Supreme Lord. In this section, between 18 to 23, some wonderful philosophical point we can draw. Our limited understanding often hinders our recognition of the divine omnipotence as we attempt to comprehend the infinite with finite faculties. So this facility of intellect, the mind, and the senses has been provided to us by the Supreme Lord through his transformative power of his material nature. Material nature assembles all these faculties, and Brahma puts us in that assembly in the particular form. It could be a human form, a demigod's form, or a demon's form. And the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma, energizes the senses, the intelligence, and the mind, and the living entity takes on to his actions from where he had left as a result of his past karma. not able to comprehend this divine truth and the essence of how the life cycle goes on, Hiranyakashipu, he was incapable to comprehend the extraordinary form of Lord. Therefore, it highlights the limitations of human perception in grasping the magnitude of the divine power. No matter how formidable one's intellect or discernment, it cannot fully grasp the extent of the divine's omnipotence. So here's a strong statement that tells us that do not take things easy, especially when you're dealing with the devotees. So it also applies to the devotees as well. When a devotee is trying to practice Krishna consciousness, because of the tendencies which he has borrowed from his past lives, sometimes the demoniac tendencies do come out. And that can come out in various ways as anarthas. So a devotee requires to carefully study and thereby make attempts to remove such anarthas from his life. Only then there is progress. Only then he can actually make a difference. Another point from this verse is arrogance binds individuals to the reality of divine intervention, fostering a false sense of invincibility and superiority. Yeah, it's really a very hard lesson for those who are actually arrogant, that the Lord doesn't like anyone to be arrogant, for the simple reason that he is the provider, he is the creator, sustainer, and the maintainer, as well as the destructor or the destroyer. So no living force can actually challenge, because every kind of a living entity within this 14 planetary systems depend on the Supreme Personality of God's mercy. And he provides such a mercy and support through his various agencies. Brahma is one such agency. And Hiranyakashipu thought that he could overpower that agency also by very tactfully asking from him many different kinds of boons and propositions. But he did not realize that beyond Brahma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is omnipotent and he is omnipresent. And since his actions were not in line with the attitude that is needed to come in front of the Lord, he had to face his own end. And the significance is Hiranyakashipu's arrogance led him to believe that he could challenge the Lord's powers, despite witnessing divine manifestations. However, his downfall exemplifies the futility of opposing the will of the Supreme Lord. Another point that we see here, the failure of the mortal endeavors against divine will. It highlights the futility of challenging the Supreme Lord's authority. Now we can also try and take some questions here, or you can read those questions which we had previously taken it for your case. Would any one of you like to volunteer and have some kind of an answer? Do not worry, I will give you the answers also at the end, but I would like you to inspire to read them and try to comprehend. It is so nice, this particular pastime, which has happened in the heavenly planets, especially when one of the sons of Hiranyakashipu, who's Prahlada, he became a devotee of the Lord. And even though he underwent the education in the Gurukula of the demons, taught wisely by the sons of Shukracharya, the family priest or the teacher. But these sons made every effort to try to teach the demoniac principles. But since Narada was the eternal spiritual master of Prahlada, right from the womb, when he was in his mother's womb, he actually learned this divine science of hearing and chanting the glorifying, beautiful qualities of the Supreme Lord. And because of that activity right from his childhood, he became so matured in his devotional service, despite every kind of an attempt that Hiranyakashipu did to torture and trouble Prahlada. that demon could not succeed. And why was this? This is something interesting point. He was so powerful that he could order all the different demigods, especially the principal demigods. He made them to carry his palanquin from one place to the other. The kings of the universe were carrying the palanquin of Hiranyakashipu. That was so unbearable. And yet, when he faced the challenge of seeing the Lord face to face as Lord Nrsimhadeva, fear overtook him. So what does this indicate? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very nice verse in the 11th canto. Bhayam dvitiya binivesha yasyat ishad apetasya visprutayo viparyaya. So those who actually become fearful, bhayam, those who consider his own existence and his happiness and pleasure to be the primary focus of the life, for them, dvitiyam means secondary is Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, or it has no significance at all in their life. To such people, fear grips. Prahlada, on the other hand, he was tortured like no mortal could ever tolerate such kind of a torture. But then how he could tolerate? Because his dvitiyam was also prathamam, and prathamam was its first fundamental consideration. What was that? The Lord's service, the Lord's remembrance, Vishnoho Smaranam. So because of that potency that he had, he could comprehend the omnipotence of the Lord. When the Lord actually killed Hiranyakashipu, when the whole scene was over, he asked Prahlada, I am so eager. I want that you ask for some boon. I want to give you. But Prahlada said, my dear Lord, do not give me any material boons, because I have seen the end of the topmost Asura Varya, the topmost materialistic demon, my own father. He thought, and he was controlling all the different demigods within the universe. But how was that? He was killed, just like how a wasp is crushed in between the two fingers. So therefore, do not allure me by giving any kind of material benedictions. This was Prahlada's prayer. So therefore, we should actually see what does it mean to truly comprehend the omnipotence of the devotee. And then how does the fear shape our perception of the divine? Many a times people actually go to the Lord, seek for some protection just because they want to protect the body. But Prahlada's body was constantly tortured. He never asked for his protection of his body. He was only constantly praying to the Lord that these people, including my father, does not understand his own true position, that he is the eternal servant of the Lord. And then he is trying to give every kind of a trouble in my life, not realizing that I am also like him, an eternal servant of the Lord. Instead of collaborating, he was actually competing. And such competing mentality will be completely vanquished in the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what happened. Then how does our limited understanding distort our perception of the divine intervention? He could not simply comprehend who is this being, how could he appear? And just that, on the call of my son, Nija Bhutya Bhashitam, Sthambe Sabhayam, Na Mrugam Na Manusham. How could this possibly be happen? And what was the power of my own son? And what is this power of the devotion? Were some of the questions that was actually coming in. And therefore, his limited understanding could not pave way for the perception of the divine intervention. The Lord is so curious, he is so merciful and kind that he cannot tolerate his devotees being in any kind of a trouble. We have seen many, many cases, many kinds of stories and narratives, even from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Lord as Bhaktavatsala, he in his different incarnations, he actually protects all the different devotees. Therefore, in the Bhagavatam, it is stated that one who may have a desire, or he has no desire, or he has a desire for liberation, one should under all circumstances come to the shelter of the Supreme Lord. Akama, moksha kama diva. For them, the only purpose that even if they have to crave for any kind of a desire, that desires can be fulfilled by Krishna, even if it is material desires. So therefore, a true devotee does not ask for material benediction. He does not want the Lord to feel sorry about his own servant asking for such kinds of benedictions. He is capable. He is Varada, one who awards all benedictions. But then a devotee is sensible to not ask such kind of a benedictions from the Lord. He doesn't want himself to be put into shame. And therefore, when Prahlada was asked by Nrsimhadeva, he simply stated that please do not allure me with any kind of a material propositions, because I'm just like the trader. A trader becomes greedy when he sees money. So may my mind not get disturbed from being drifted away from your lotus feet. May I always get that kind of an association of yours. And he also stated to the Lord that I was actually brought into contact by my spiritual master Narada. And if at all, if you want to give me any benediction, you please give me the association of my eternal spiritual master, unto whom I may develop constant devotion, and I may surrender and praise the glories of the Supreme Lord. That was his only request. So how does our limited understanding distort our perception of divine intervention? Another question could be, how does divine intervention validate the faith in the face of adversity? This is a very, very important point. In adversities, we generally tend to give up all the good that we might have tried very hard to get it in our regular life. But since we are overcome either with fear, or we are overcome with different kinds of troubles that is in front of us, sometimes we forget, or it is not within our own smriti. Why? Because when we were in this material world without the trouble, we did not bother to actually make an investment of remembering the Supreme Personality of God. Mattaha Smritir was not there. And because of the absence of that, one faces adversity, and actually he cannot see the hand of the divine intervention. So in the life of many devotees, such kind of intervention could be seen in many different ways. There are, Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such kind of stories. And even in the Bhagavatam, there is something very interesting. Nobody wants any adversity or trouble in his life. But Mother Kunti prays that, my dear Lord, bring in all kinds of calamities in my life. And Krishna asked her, why? Why should I do this, my dear aunt? So she says, my dear Krishna, my dear nephew, if you actually bring in this type of different kinds of challenges and adversities in my life, it gives me an opportunity to remember you. And by remembering you, I can actually feel your presence. And when your presence are there, how can any kind of an adversity stay there? Isn't this very intelligent? So the Lord was defeated by his own words. And in this way, Kunti Maharani proved that she is such an extraordinary devotee. The Lord wants her association, or such type of devotees association. So that's something that we can learn from this proposition. Then how does our limited perception hinder our recognition of the divine omnipotence? Since we are not the Vibhu Atma, we are Anu Atma. We are also part and parcel of Krishna, but we are Bhinnada Prakriti Ashtada. We are separate. Even though we are Param Prakriti, but yet our tiny position is so tiny that we cannot comprehend the overall mercy and the glory of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, our perception becomes very limited. Just like our body is limited, even our perception is also limited because of having the ill intention of enjoying this material world. So our perceptions becomes hindered. And so we cannot recognize the divine omnipotence of the Supreme Lord. Then finally, the question, how does arrogance blinds us? In the pursuit of acquiring so many kinds of material enjoyment, material possessions, material power, we tend to develop the weeds of lust, greed, avarice, hatred. All of these turns out to make ourselves become very proud. Proud and arrogance are reflections of each other. When a man is proud, he also tends to neglect others, demean, belittle them, and then he shows whatever little intelligence he may have in front of them just to display, to make them feel very, very ashamed. Such kind of a treatment is what is called as arrogance. They do not distinguish between the spiritual master and the senior devotees or disciples. And then they behave in such abominable manner that they cannot understand that their behavior is the cause of their own destruction. So Hiranyakashipu's cause of destruction was his own arrogance. And therefore it blinded him to see things how it should be. So Hiranyakashipu was blinded by his own power, and therefore he treated his own son and he intended to kill him. And that was the day when the Lord actually appeared and protected Prahlada Maharaj and vanquished this demon Hiranyakashipu once and for all from the face of this whole earthly realm. So that was the brief description that what we discussed today in this chapter. And we also look at some of those philosophical points as well as discussing on some question and answer. So if any of you would like to answer any of those questions, that would be nice. We could have some short interaction. And to clarify, we could also read some of these answers as well. So I would stop the screen share here and would like to hear from the devotees if they have something to share.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much Prabhu for such a very nicely prepared presentation and very nice overview of how we should be and all. Thank you Prabhu. Dear devotees, anybody has questions or realizations that
Mataji, Prabhuji still did not finish the class. He's going to ask the questions from the class and we are going to answer that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Mataji. Go ahead.
Okay, so those were some 5 questions that I've actually presented in front of you. If anyone has some insights, would like to share something, or if you want, I can show the question and the answers. You can even opt for reading it. That also will give a good insight if that's how you would prefer. Will that be fine?
Yes, Prabhuji, maybe we will read the answers.
Okay, great. So here is the questions and answers. So one of you can volunteer, you can unmute and read a question and an answer, or I will read the question, you can read the answer. What does it mean to truly comprehend the omnipotence of the divine?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Yes. Understanding the omnipotence of the divine entails acknowledging the boundless power and authority that transcends human comprehension. It requires humility and openness to the limitless nature of the divine, beyond the confines of mortal understanding.
Thank you, Aksharadas Prabhu. So let's read the second one. how does fear shape our perception of the divine?
Fear
Anyone?
often,
Yeah.
fear
Go ahead.
often distorts our perception of the divine, leading us to view it through the lens of trepidation and uncertainty. It can obscure the true nature of the divine, preventing us from recognizing its benevolence and omnipresence.
Next, how does our limited understanding distort our perception of divine intervention?
Our limited understanding often leads us to misinterpret divine intervention, attributing it to coincidence or natural phenomena rather than recognizing it as a manifestation of divine will. This distortion hinders our ability to perceive the profound signification of divine actions in our lives.
Thank you. Then how does divine intervention validate faith in the face of diversity? How can one be very confident of Krishna's or the Lord's divine intervention is just there in the corner, it's going to come? How can we have such a faith?
Hare Krishna. Divine intervention serves as a testament to the unwavering faith of devotees, affirming their belief in the divine's presence and protection. It reinforces their trust in divine providence, even amidst challenges and tribulations. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. How does our limited perception hinder our recognition of the divine omnipotence?
Our limited perception often obstructs our recognition of divine omnipotence as we attempt to comprehend the infinite with finite faculties. This hindrance prevents us from fully grasping the magnitude of divine power and wisdom. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. So the last question, how does arrogance bind us to the reality of divine intervention?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Arrogance breeds a false sense of superiority and self-sufficiency, binding us to the reality of divine intervention. It fosters a delusion of invincibility, obscuring our awareness of the divine's role in our lives and actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of you who've been very kind to participate and also read some paragraphs. So do you have any questions?
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. I do not have any question, but I want to add little realization here, where
Please.
Lord Krishna tells Arjuna very emphatically in the 9th chapter. He says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma satsat santi nigacchati konte pratijanihi name bhakta pranasyati. So this is the one affirmation by Lord Sri Krishna which can guarantee any fallen bhakta or offensive bhakta like me who could adhere to this one promise of Lord Sri Krishna and obtain the love for his lotus feet through great devotees like Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Very truly brought to light. Thank you. Yes, Mother Jyoti Devi Mata.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, when we read scriptures, it's all theoretical, but when we are into actions, we forget the theory at that particular time. And when we realize the moment that our behavior was not up to the mark, we have crossed the time where we are supposed to rectify ourselves. So there is a huge difference in the application and what we read in the theory, because we read the theory, we have to imbibe it, we have to cultivate it, and then we have to again be very alert that we are applied or not, it's up to the mark. And this is a slow process, and when there is a reaction coming to us, it's a fast process because we are into that mode of passion or ignorance. So my question to you is, what exactly bring us that alertness to apply the theory in our actions immediately? What is that blessing, or what is that we should, we should cultivate, that what we read we could apply immediately, and the time that elapses, it can be reduced by some way, like hook and crook, you can say. So this is my question to you.
Very nice. How can we actually be dependent on the Lord's mercy? And how can we actually realize His protection is right in the corner? The Lord is more eager to protect us and take us back home, back to God, than we ourselves are eager to go back to Him. That is why we are called as rebellious. Icha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena. All the living entities in this material world have this tendency that they are having a desire to enjoy this material world separately from Krishna. But yet they are helpless because this material world belongs to the Supreme Lord. Everything is provided by the Supreme Lord. And not able to comprehend this fact in the true sense, we think that we are the masters of all that we survey. And that's where the illusion creeps inside us so deeply that it also makes us forget about Krishna. It also makes us forget about our relationship with Krishna. Unable to comprehend, unable to establish the relationship, we tend to hold on to various kinds of things, which is fallible. Therefore, we fall in trap of our own network of illusions. So first step is to realize this. And the second important step is to associate with like-minded devotees who are also having a similar interest to develop their own confidence in Krishna's protection. So this can only happen when there is a good amount of sadhu sanga. And even a little, very, very komala shraddha, a little faith, can also fan up greatly so that one can take up to devotional service very effectively. So that requires an inclination, and one should make his priorities, one should choose, and then seek the shelter. And more to that is his ability to associate with the scriptures truly. If one just casually gives a reading, has a benefit. But one who actually does the study of the scriptures, scrutinizing, just like how we depend on the material studies for our livelihood, and we consider, unless we crack such an exam or such a kind of a challenge, we cannot establish ourselves very firmly in any kind of material sphere. Why? We have an interest in that, and therefore we pursue such interests. But our interests are very feeble. It stands on a very baseless kind of a platform when it comes to our own real benefit. Prahlada Maharaj therefore says, Natte viduhu swartha gatim hi Vishnuhu. The living entity does not really realize what is his ultimate shelter. Not having understood that, he is trying to wander the entire universe. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Shiva. But on the practical side, if you see, Srila Prabhupada at the advanced age of 70, not even having any kind of a support from his own god brothers also, forget about his family or friends, he went on to this journey all the way from India to US. And there single-handedly established this beautiful organization, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and whose fruit we are today enjoying. Even though we are not physically in one place, we are virtually relishing this great nectar Had this not been the confidence of Srila Prabhupada, how could we ever think of such a possibility at all? And the Lord protected him. He encouraged him. He could establish several missions, several missionary activities under the banner of ISKCON. And today, he is not only dear to the entire world and to the divine devotee community, he is reckoned as one of the topmost devotees. How is this possible? Just like how it was possible for Prahlada. So it's a question of very sound depth of our faith that qualifies us to receive such a mercy. Vishwasa Shabde Kohe Sudruda Nischaya. Rupa Goswami explains. Vishwasa means that faith has to have its attribute or its quality is that it should have unshaken faith. Sudruda Nischaya, with such a determination that Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasa Palana. So these require definitely a good quality association and good guidance. Then this can happen. Hope that helps you.
Yes, Prabhuji. I am trying to be servant. I don't know when I'll be in the consciousness. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Akshar Das Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. So I have two questions, Prabhu. First question is, how can I serve in a way that Lord wants to see me?
See me. Okay. Simply serve your spiritual master. He is the representative. If you do any activity which pleases your spiritual master, he is immediately recognized by the Supreme Lord. That's the easiest way.
And Prabhu, if I have let any senior devotee down, like by not living up to their expectations in the past, so how do I, approach that or reconcile or do something about that, like gain trust or back or like?
Vaishnavas are actually very merciful. They do not consider any offenses. Even if some action done intentionally or unintentionally, when you clarify this position and also your own intention, they very much embrace and they very much take you into their fold. And thereafter, try to do such activities which can please them. The best way to gain confidence from any of the Vaishnavas is to follow the principle which is elucidated in the 4th verse of Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigrihnati. So you can offer some gifts and confess your heart. And sometimes if you're not able to do it directly personally because of your own reservations, you can seek for a mediation from some other senior devotee who cares for you and also who is good, a friend with the other devotee with whom you have any kind of a practical difficulty to open up. So that would be very effective. And thereby you can actually get the benefit of both one who helps you to bring to that platform and the other one who actually accepts you. So that's a beautiful way to work out how to do to rectify something which, if has been done knowingly or unknowingly. Hope that helps you.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, there is one reference in Bhagavatam that Krishna reveals or sends Guru in your life and then Guru directs you to Krishna. So that analogy, can you please quote that?
It's also said the same thing in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So it is, Guru is none other than the Lord Sri Krishna himself, wherein this verse is also there in another Puranas also, wherein it is stated very clearly, Na avamanyeta karihichet. Never neglect, never discard the spiritual master, because I am the spiritual master. I simply appear in a form that can help that particular devotee who is in his material consciousness with material faculties to recognize me. Even if Krishna comes as Satchidananda Vigraha in front of us, who he is in the deity, as in the temple, still we are not able to relate to him. We still consider him that he is made of stone or a painting or something else. So therefore, the Lord comes in a way in which you can actually interact. And that is the spiritual master. Therefore, if you actually...
In initial phases, if we are listening to multiple initiating spiritual masters to determine which like you are more aligned to, or so how to like get that bhav that okay, he is my spiritual master for lifetime after lifetime.
Associate with those disciples who have that kind of a feeling towards their spiritual master. Sadhu Sanga is such a powerful thing. When we try to do on our own, this is not a research work. This is a work which has to come as a mercy. Spiritual master appears in your life because of mercy. Karunika, he is such a Karunavatar. So the only thing, and I would suggest to you how you could do this, beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 13th chapter, verses number 8 to 12, which are the elements of knowledge. The first 5 factors, if you have time, and if I'm permitted, I would like to share that verse and tell you a beautiful answer for this.
Yes, Prabhuji, please share.
It's okay. So I will actually show this as a practical demonstration. So I'll share the screen. This is the verse which says, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Kshantirajyavam, Acharyopasanam Shaucham, Stairyam Atma Vinigraha. So 5 qualities, if you cultivate, you will get a spiritual master. What is that? Let's see the translation here. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If these 5 qualities are developed, then the Lord appears in front of you as a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. Then this bona fide spiritual master trains up another 10 qualities within you, such as cleanliness, shaucham. This means anartha nivritti. This is why you enter into a bhajana kriya once you get a spiritual master. Then steadiness, nistha. Self-control, this is indriya nigraha. Then renunciation, this is tyaga of the objects of sense gratification. Then absence of false ego. You understand that you are Krishna's eternal servant. Jiver Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nitya Dasa. Then the perception of the evil birth, death, old age, and disease. This comes right in the first stage, because you are told from the very beginning, coming to Krishna consciousness, that you are not the body, but you are the soul. And then detachment comes. You're not attached to material hankerings. You can let things go. When you do all this, then freedom from entanglement, children, wife, home, and the rest. This happens because you will engage and try to see your family as part of Krishna's family, and therefore you do not try to enjoy them, rather engage them. That's the quality of education one receives. Then you have even-mindedness. You can see things in a very balanced manner amidst pleasant and unpleasant events. Once all of this happens, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets constant and unalloyed devotion to me. Krishna is speaking that. This is what a spiritual master gives him. So 5 you try to cultivate, 10 the spiritual master is giving you, so it became 15. And then you got the result, which is the Lord's darshana as a spiritual master. And the Lord now trains you up as aspiring to live in a solitary place. This is what the devotees like. They don't like the crowd, the Sanga, or the Asanga, or the Dussanga. And then they are detached from general mass of people. And then accepting the importance of self-realization, that is to stay or in the sense of God realization. And then they discuss, just like how we are doing, philosophical search of the absolute truth. When these qualities are actually present in a person, Krishna says, I declare this to be the knowledge. And besides this, whatever there is, it is only ignorance. So this is how one should actually be faithful to the scriptures, to develop them very deeply.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu, but is it mandatory that someone will have a Swarup Darshan, like know their eternal position before going back to Godhead?
If your spiritual master considers that you are qualified to do that, he will explain. Your own position is not revealed by yourself. You cannot research and find out. It is an aspect which your spiritual master develops within you. And therefore, he engages in that type of a service which gradually reveals your eternal Swarupa.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Done with Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Trying to see if there is any raised hands anymore. I don't see raised hands. Let's see any questions in the chat box. Which is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhuji? Could you please mention again? It is.
I will just try to locate the verse number in a minute.
Chapter 8 to 13, right?
Now that was for the question that he had asked in terms of how one develops proper faith and realizes his position. The verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27. This can be 11.17.27. And in a moment, I will share that verse, so it will be interesting for you to read also. Acharyam mam vijaniyam na avamanyeta karhichit na amartya buddhya asuyeta sarvadeva mayo guruhu. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. That's a beautiful verse. This is also explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 146. Then also there's a verse what we are now under consideration that we are speaking about. So beautiful purport, go through it. So much of essence that Srila Prabhupada has put into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dear devotees, anybody has any other questions or realizations that you would like
Hare
to share?
Krishna, Prabhuji. I don't have question, but I just wanted to thank you, Prabhuji, for coming on the call and very, very beautiful class. Such a nice PPT, Prabhuji, with the beautiful pictures of Lord Nrsingadev. So attractive pictures, Prabhuji, and the PPT was also very nice. And you have the important points from the purport and Acharya's commentaries, question and answer session. The class was very, very beautiful, Prabhuji. So grateful to you, Hare Krishna.
I see.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam, Krishna Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Such a wonderful class and very nice PPT, and nicely you gave the questions and answers. It was very interactive class. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for coming on the call, and thank you so much for your time and association, Prabhuji. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
So if I don't have any questions, we will end the call. Prabhuji, again, so much grateful for your time and association this morning for a wonderful presentation and very nicely and crisply, so that it is easily, you can understand it, nice way you presented it, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji.
Vanchakalpatrubhishcha kripa sindhubhaiva cha pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha.
Vaishnavebhyo
Anantapuri Vaishnavan ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. Ki jai.
Bhagavatam ki
Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Hari Bol.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Gauranga, Nityananda.
Gauranga.
Nityananda.
Gauranga.
Nityananda.
Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today.